Canada burnt the bridges with America. Donald Trump did not slam the door. Canada slammed that door shut all by itself.
Of course, was U.S. Ambassador to Canada, Pete Hoekstra. We'll have more about the declining, deteriorating, eroding, evaporating trade agreement with the United States when we come back. This is David Krayden broadcasting to you live. This is Stand on Guard. Stay tuned. And we've got much more about the ostrich farm, and I'll explain about that in mere moments.
The Prime Minister lied, and his minions continue to lie.
Your home is your castle. We're calling on the government to introduce and immediately pass the Stand on Guard law.
But we also need to resolve to resist.
Okay. We'll do it live. Okay. No. We'll do it live. I'll write it and we'll do it live.
Yes, thanks for joining us today on Stand on Guard. We've got lots about, as I said, the declining chances of a trade agreement with the United States, but I've got some incredible information to show you today about Universal Ostrich Farms and what's potentially, possibly, and I would say probably, happening to these birds right now every day. This is an incredible story, so stay tuned for that. That's about the other half of the show after we get through the trade disagreements here.
Burnt the bridges with America. Donald Trump did not slam the door. Canada slammed that door shut all by itself. I don't know how we get this back on track.
That comment after Ambassador Pete Hoekstra had a conversation with Donald Trump on Saturday, the same day the U.S. president threatened an additional 10% tariff on Canadian products.
He didn't give me any, clear indication or any indication at all that he was in any hurry to get back to the negotiating table and get an agreement.
While criticizing how Canadian media framed the recent breakdown of trade talks, the ambassador said Ontario's anti-tariff ad and comments by other premiers was akin to meddling in American affairs.
Doug Ford and Eby were starting to play in domestic American politics, potentially affecting a Supreme Court decision, potentially affecting politics, an election that is 8 days out, and for sure having an impact in the midterm elections.
Hoekstra admits American businesses are grappling with the uncertainty caused by the strained trading relationship between Canada and the U.S. But after the contentious commercial, the U.S. is taking no blame for the current state of the relationship.
Canada burnt the bridges with America. Donald Trump did not slam the door. Canada slammed that door shut all by itself.
The ambassador did say last week the U.S. had been confident sectoral deals could have been hammered out by American Thanksgiving. But now Hoekstra says he doesn't know what it will take to get people back to the table in a constructive and positive mood. Omar.
That's where it stands right now. And here's how Doug Ford is responding here, and which I find incredible. Sorry, I had my mic muted there. Doug Ford seems to think this is mission accomplished. And we're going to find out why he would possibly think that. But here's Doug Ford trying to explain what he means.
Today, in saying that it was the ad that derailed negotiations which were moving ahead. With that in mind, why don't you feel you owe Ontarians an apology?
This is an ad. That was an ad run by a provincial government in Canada. Why are you mad at the federal government?
Because whether it's provincial or Canada itself, they all knew exactly what the ad was. The Prime Minister knew. Everybody knew. The Prime Minister knew what the ad was before I went on.
Will you see him in APEC? Do you want to meet with him?
I don't want to meet with them. No, I'm not going to be meeting with them for a while. No, I'm very happy with the deal we have right now with Canada. We're going to let it ride.
Well, we have Secretary Beck here. Can you ask about the Fed surge as well? Where are you?
President Trump says he's canceled these trade talks because he's upset about the Ontario government ad. We've heard from the Business Council of Canada and even some of President Trump's own advisors who suggest the frustration with Canada runs deeper. So is this about the ads or is this about something else?
I would suggest you take the president at his word for his reasons.
Have you had any contact with President Trump since Thursday?
I have not.
Given that President Trump said today on Air Force One, I don't know if you heard this, but in the last hour he said he doesn't plan to meet with you for a long time. Is it worth continuing to pursue a discussion, a meeting, a phone call with him at this point?
I didn't see the comment. Look, we stand ready to sit down with the United States, myself with the President, my colleagues with their colleagues, when the U.S. is ready to sit down. We had made considerable progress on a supplement to the trading relationship that we had, considerable progress in the areas of steel, aluminum, and energy, associated areas as well. And as I just said, we're ready to sit down when they are ready to do that. If they're not ready to do that, as those comments indicate, then we...
It's like it's all down the drain. And this is Mark Carney essentially leaking information about what had been negotiated.
And we were always going to do these things, to be clear. We're going to first and foremost build our economy, build it with generational investments, and you will see that not just the scale of ambition, but the speed with which we put that into effect in the budget on November 4th, and continue to do what we've been doing over the course of the last few days and over the course of recent months, which is to build those other partnerships and deepen those other partnerships on which we're getting very much traction. Thank you.
Next question, Murray.
So let's hear Doug.
The Prime Minister was explicit today in saying that it was the ad that derailed negotiations which were moving ahead. With that in mind, why don't you feel you owe Ontarians an apology?
For sticking up for Ontarians? Well, let's talk about a so-called imminent deal. I've been hearing this for month after month after month, and if there was no mention about Ottawa.
How are relations with the Prime Minister? Are things strained now because of what's happened?
Not at all. He saw the...
Not at all. I think they threw each other under the bus because Ford announced that Carney saw the Reagan ad prior to it being released. Carney's clearly throwing Ford under the bus. This is the end of the faux conservative federal liberal coalition that's been going on since Doug Ford was elected premier. It went on throughout the Trudeau years.
Before I put it out, so did his chief of staff. They both saw it, and we moved forward on it. But again, we achieved our goal. As we say, mission accomplished. It was done.
Can you talk to the Prime Minister about this and what's? I mean, he was pretty measured in Malaysia today.
Sure.
About you and about this situation. But how are relations with the Prime Minister? Are things strained now because of what's happened?
Not at all. He saw the ad before I put it out. So did his chief of staff. They both saw it, and we moved forward on it. But again, we achieved our goal. As we say, mission accomplished. It was done. They're talking about it in the U.S., and they weren't talking about it before I put the ad on. So I'm glad that Ronald Reagan was a free trader.
Okay, so what was Doug Ford's objective? He said he achieved his goal. Maybe he should say what his goal was. What, to get people talking about trade negotiations? They've been talking about it. If his objective was to kill the trade process, to kill the trade negotiations, he's achieved that goal. And you can be historically correct. And Ronald Reagan, yes, he was a free trader. And all of us who call ourselves small c conservatives or libertarians, we were all free traders in 1984, 1985. There was no argument about that. Clearly, there's an argument today amongst Donald Trump's key supporters. So you can be historically correct about Ronald Reagan, but you don't want to wave that red flag in front of Donald Trump, especially after Mark Carney has already PO'd the president by attending a gay pride parade just before negotiation session. He announced his decision to recognize a Palestinian state just before trade negotiations. Both of these really angered President Trump. So I don't know why Doug Ford thinks he's achieved anything except potential disaster for the country. Here's some more comment on this.
Been so challenging about dealing with Canada at trade negotiations?
I guess the lack of flexibility and, also I would guess that leftover, behaviors from like the Trudeau folks, that can be very frustrating for people who are negotiating.
Can you start with the Canadian trade negotiations where things stand?
Yeah, obviously the President Truth, something that reveals his frustration with the actions and postures of the Canadians through months of negotiations, and we'll see how it goes.
Mr. Hassett, on Canada, you said the president was frustrated, but is this just a knee-jerk reaction?
I think the frustration has built up over time. I've been involved in some of these negotiations, and the Canadians have been very difficult to negotiate with. And you look at all the countries around the world that we've made deals with, and the fact that we're now negotiating with Mexico separately reveals that it's not just about one ad, that there's frustration that's built up.
And is he planning to speak with the Prime Minister Carney when they're both in Asia this week? Because this ad had nothing to do with Carney's government.
I don't have any information on that.
Mr. Hasson, how concerned is the administration that the Supreme Court will not ultimately side with your view on the tariff policy? The president has been truthing a lot about the upcoming case.
I think that we have a very high level of confidence that the Supreme Court will side with us. We think we're on very strong grounds. I've been fishing through the briefs myself just to see what the arguments are, and I think the case is very, very strong, and we're highly confident that they'll side with us. I even spoke to the Oval with the president about it last night, and I'd say the level of confidence is extremely high.
Mr. Hassett, just very quickly, what it has been so challenging about dealing with Canada at trade negotiations?
I guess the lack of flexibility and, also I would guess that leftover, behaviors from like the Trudeau folks, that can be very frustrating for people who are negotiating.
Trump announced all trade talks with Canada have been called off because of an alleged fake ad that showed Ronald Reagan bad-mouthing tariffs. Okay, the president's angry about this. He admitted just, no more talks with Canada. But where do we go from here?
Well, I mean, the president, I'm sure, has his reasons. There have been a lot of talks with Canada. I've been involved in some of them. And I think the president probably more than anything is frustrated with the progress that he's making with Canada. And sometimes when you're frustrated, a timeout is the right call. And the president's saying no talks with Canada. I would guess that at some point between now and the end of his term, he'll talk to Canada again. But yes, right now, I think there's been frustration with the behavior of the Canadians, the demeanor of the Canadians, the positions of the Canadians. And so it's probably a good time to take a break for a little while.
I think
So it doesn't look good. Doesn't look good at all. And there are other issues encroaching upon Mark Carney right now. And of course, one of those is Brookfield. And we know the chickens are starting to roost on that one. Here's our journalistic friend and colleague, Sam Cooper, on the close collusion between Brookfield and China.
Brookfield maintained over $3 billion in politically sensitive investments connected to China and its state-linked real estate and energy companies. Can you explain how Prime Minister Carney's role in Brookfield's ties to the regime in China?
Sure, I'll go off memory of my own reporting. Thinking of that story, which I wrote in the lead up to the federal election, I researched into Brookfield's investments in China, and on the real estate file, I noted that after 2015, Brookfield had made very substantial China-based real estate investments, and due to my knowledge of Beijing's United Front networks, I noted that one of the key Hong Kong investors connected to the projects in which Brookfield was investing was part of China's political consultative conference. That was important to me because the Central Intelligence Agency notes that people on that high-level Chinese communist entity are involved, the CIA says, in Beijing's sort of global United Front networks. That's how the Chinese Communist Party brings influential people together. So I noted in my reporting that for Brookfield to get access to that same type of investment project on a major real estate deal in China, together with a very elite Hong Kong real estate tycoon, certainly in my learned opinion, it would take a special kind of access to get that kind of deal. So then tracking forward through when Prime Minister Carney joins Brookfield, in the surrounding years, I noted that the real estate market in China had plummeted. At some point, Brookfield needed to secure some, let's call it sort of a re-injection of capital, and it turned out that it emerged that the Bank of China, as others have reported, was involved in bridging some capital to reinfuse that deal in China's troubled real estate market. So stepping back from that, I noted that people in Mr. Carney's position in Brookfield, Mr. Carney also traveling to China to meet with senior Communist Party officials around the timing of the Bank of China assisting Brookfield with their real estate investment, that would certainly, in my mind, raise, the questions around access and influence.
Mr. Carney was the chair at Brookfield during that time. Then he enters public office. You talk about his ties, relationships with the regime in China. Is there any evidence to suggest that those ties have been maintained since he's entered elected office?
Well, in my research focusing on Brookfield, which is the nature already in previous testimony, I heard Brookfield and Mr. Carney's 103 potential investment vulnerabilities come up. Look, my work is based on open source investigations, and Mr. Carney, I noted in the timeline back to his days with the Bank of England, had worked on establishing a special relationship between the Bank of England and the Bank of China, and which is, of course, controlled by the Chinese Communist Party in terms of global monetary systems. So I felt that was important as a researcher. Through the years, Mr. Carney, when he joins Brookfield, prior to entering politics, repeatedly travels to Beijing and meets with officials, including President Xi Jinping. And I noted that for business persons at that time of Mr. Carney's stature to appear with Xi Jinping, again, as China's economy is in need of foreign investment, and while investments into China are becoming more dangerous in the view of some Western capitalists, having Mr. Carney be in those meetings, I do think is important. And you could say fairly is beneficial to Xi Jinping, as it would be beneficial to Mark Carney, the business person, in his time at Brookfield. So when we enter Mr. Carney's race to become the Liberal nominee for Prime Minister, I did note that as the Globe and Mail broke the story that Mr. Carney met with an entity called the Jiangsu Chamber of Commerce in Toronto, I was very aware already that Commerce Department had overt ties to the United Front Work Department, and indeed politically connected Canadians are honorary chairs with that entity. So I do think there's much reporting that hasn't come out on exactly what the Jiangsu Chamber of Commerce is and what Mr. Carney's meeting, which he denied at first, as you know, he denied elements of the Globe and Mail's reporting. So there's controversy around what really happened in that meeting.
Unfortunately, I'm out of time. I appreciate your answers. Thank you.
So, are the chickens coming home to roost on Mark Carney's 103 conflicts of interest, the chief of which has been Brookfield over the years? And we have done extensive reporting on how Brookfield is aligned, connected, integrated with globalist empires, and how it has at times dodged taxes with offshore tax havens, how it has abused people in the third world to push its policies, to push its business practices. So this is not a happy time for Mark Carney. At the same time, of course, Carney is musing about having another federal election because he believes he could get a majority government. I think it's becoming increasingly unlikely, but I do think it's increasingly favorable to have new elections, a new federal election, because we are entering a severe time in our Canadian history. Michael Cooper, a good friend of the station, put this up on X. House of Commons to vote on ordering the CEO of Brookfield and Carney's chief of staff to testify at ethics committee. Carney's vast conflicts of interest. He continues to hide. Brookfield dodging billions in Canadian taxes using offshore tax havens. They have a lot to explain. Yes, they do. And you know who else has a lot to explain? The CFIA has a lot to explain at Universal Ostrich Farms. And we are going to show you. This is our transition piece. I'll explain why I'm showing this to you momentarily.
Frankly, it's tiring to look out at combat formations, or really any formation, and see fat troops. Likewise, it's completely unacceptable to see fat generals and admirals in the halls of the Pentagon.
You can't handle the truth.
Now, why would I show you that? Well, this is one of the typical RCMP officers. And we also have a picture, of course, if you looked at our thumbnail this morning, picture of the CFIA agent in about the same physical shape. So I think maybe they should be renewed emphasis on physical fitness in the RCMP. Clearly, there's something wrong here. And of course, somebody put this up on X as it and joked, are the RCMP eating the ostriches? I guess it certainly appears that people are putting on weight during this operation. But here's what I think is really the pièce de résistance to the show here. And we put this together based on 3 different videos that I received from supporters at the farm. This is dynamite. And we're going to be putting all of this together. Of course, I think we've conclusively proven that the CFIA is moving waste from the farm to a transfer site at a gravel pit that the RCMP has literally taken over, occupied. They're moving it to Super Save, which is a business in town where it's mixed in with their trash and compacted. Then it's shipped out to one of 4 different landfill sites. And for some reason, we can't substantiate yet where it's going, how it's being unloaded. But the CFIA can't have it both ways. Either this waste is toxic and it shouldn't be sent out to the local landfill site, or this waste is not toxic and the CFI knows they're lying about the health of these ostriches. You can't have it both ways. But I tell you, folks, that's just the beginning of what's going on here. This is shocking. And the question I have, the CFIA needs to own up to what it's doing to these ostriches on a daily basis. What is happening to these ostriches? Because clearly, they're not telling us the whole truth. They're doing things in clandestine operations. They're secretly doing things at night. People are hearing strange noises, and this video documents all that. What's happening at night? What are they doing to the ostriches? And if they don't want people to speculate about what's happening to those ostriches, try to be a little transparent about your operation, but they're not. They're doing everything in secret because they have their own agenda, and they don't think they have to obey the orders of the Supreme Court. Clearly, they are up to something very nefarious here. Now, watch this video. This is shocking in terms of what we think, what we believe is happening on this farm. We cannot conclusively prove it, but the CFIA doesn't want anybody to verify it or not. They want to continue their operations in secret. This video, I think, says it all. It's 6 minutes long, but watch all of it, please, because this is what's happening.
Okay, you recording?
Yes, what is happening at 3 a.m. here? For a family.
I'm not going to engage in a big crowd of questions and all that stuff. I'll try to answer your questions respectfully.
Well,
I want to know. I'm not going to engage in.
I want to know why
you were blocking me from following the van that was exiting Mark's property.
Yeah, let.
Just a second.
What is going on?
Police escort in front. That's what the big bright light is. And a cattle liner is getting the police escort out. It went in and now it's coming out. You have to ask yourself, what are they moving? What are they moving at 2 a.m, guys? 2:22 in the morning. With a police escort. And why do we have 4 cruisers right now trying to blind us so we can't see? What are they trying to hide, guys? What are they doing in the cover of night? This is our police and our government doing this, guys. This is unheard of. I've never seen anything like this. This level of corruption. Like you can't really see it in the camera, but I can barely see. It's like they're spotlighting us. Yeah, look at this. They're doing everything so we can't see, but we can still see. They're hidden works of darkness are coming to light. We see you. What's in that truck, people? You have to ask yourself, what's in that truck?
Evidently, it's okay to, at 2:30, 3 o'clock, bring in semis down a highway, drones with spotlights, and drop off porta potties.
It seemed like more RCMP presence.
Yeah.
Trucks moved in. There was equipment moving over there.
Yeah.
At the back. Another truck came in.
Only one truck.
Only one truck?
Yeah.
In total?
Yes. There's a pumper truck that just stayed up there and pumped out by
Okay, that would
the fire hall. Yeah. And then the pumper truck, they stayed basically there at that the outhouse, porta potty.
Mm-hmm.
And then the other van, we escorted in and they got 2 porta potties. That's it. You can see one.
Like the 5th, maybe the 8th time I've heard this, but last night there wasn't a sound. Nobody's generators were going. There was nothing making noise except their 2 big generators that they have running their lights out in the field. So about 5 this morning, the only thing I could compare this to, which it's very similar sound, only on a way more exaggerated scale. What it sounded like was if you had a blender and you had it, say, a bunch of maybe cut up steaks or even like a roast or something. Yeah. You put in there, the way the blender bites, like really fought. Yeah. When it started, it freaked me out so fucking bad. I had my phone in my back pocket. Yeah, I didn't want to hear it either, Blake. It was fucking horrid, man.
I think it's the trucks coming down the mountain.
No, dear. Nope. This is the 5th time I've heard this. Yeah. And it comes from the pen. I've been in different positions.
Yeah, I haven't heard from anything yet.
Okay, well, I've been in different positions. I could tell you exactly where it's coming from in that.
Call me next. Do you have my number?
I'll
get it after.
Yeah.
Okay, I'm gonna go to
the sound to me sounded like a grinder. Like the type you would have on your counter, only something that's like I don't know, I'm guessing maybe 6 or 8 feet across or something, like huge. And the sound was a real loud grinding sound, like, "Arr!" Like really loud. And hard grinding, getting softer, but it's still hard. Then it stopped. And then it got softer. But it was still a bad grinding noise, man. It did that 4 times. And the 4th time, the chunk, chunk, chunk wasn't there. Now it was like it had turned everything to liquid. Then it stopped. And the whole thing probably took, I don't know, I'm guessing 20, 30 seconds or whatever. Whatever it took me for time to get my phone out, to get it to where I could video something. And just when I was hitting video, that's when it stopped and it never came back on. That's the 5th time I've heard that sound.
Wow. I'll come back to this video in a second, but here is an eyewitness. This is recorded in the tent where they have meals. And my thank you to it's Agent Blue Sky or Agent Blusky. I'm not sure how he's pronouncing it. We're going to try to get him on the show later in the week. He has provided so much information to me this week. And thank you for having the courage to do this, because a lot of these people are emailing me every night and they're saying, we're scared. Please don't use my name, because we know there's something going on here that's very frightening. And what you're seeing here is potentially evidence of something that is scandalous. Now, if anybody out there has got more evidence, has got the sound recorded of this massive blender, we need to answer the question, are these ostriches being literally pulverized into liquid? And we'll have more about that process after we finish this video. But that's the question we need to know. And what are they doing with the byproducts? Are they just dumping it on the farm? Or are they trying to destroy this farm completely? 58 acres. I spoke yesterday to the guy who looks after the security for the farm, and he confirmed that now 58 acres. The pen itself, the death pen, is at least half of that. Probably smaller. Are they trying to destroy this farm? Obviously, I think the answer is yes. Let's have a bit more of this.
We're gaining more and more affidavits from people signing things that they're hearing. And like they say that, it sounds like something's going into a grinder. And yeah, in the middle of the night. And,
there's a white box at the back corner.
They've heard they use this many times in disposal sites where for chickens and that, and they have some kind of chemical that they put them in first, and it eats all the feathers, it eats the meat and everything. And then they're left with the bones and they have to do something with that. So then they go into this grinder, which everybody's saying this is exactly what it sounds like.
And then 30 to 4:30 in the morning. Like
and then they had someone sucking it out, and they took pictures and everything. But they said it was like a septic truck sucking it out, and you could hear things tinging in it. So it was like something. It's not sewage by no means. We're gaining more and more affidavits from people.
Now, before I go into more of what this process could be and what this equipment could be, I just want to show a bit of this. I got this late last night. This is filmed by a couple of supporters on the farm. And just listen to what they're reporting here.
Shelley, are you still recording? Do you know Jordan's number? Yep. And come over by me. Oh crap. I don't know. Whose number do you have? Nobody. Call your husband. Call your husband and ask him to ask Alan to have Jordan call you.
I have Al's number.
Okay, look out, because they jabbed this hen with something and they're following her. Like, I need Jordan up here again.
Okay.
Do you have Katie's number?
No.
Oh, god damn.
I don't have anybody.
Anyway, that gives you a pretty good idea of what people are filming this. The ostriches are being jabbed with something. What are they being jabbed with? What's going on? And what on earth is this massive blender that has been brought on scene? What is the process it's trying to achieve? There's another shot of it being taken onto the farm. What the hell do they need that for? What is the CFIA supposed to be doing with these ostriches until the Supreme Court comes back with a decision on whether to hear the appeal or not? They're supposed to be taking care of the ostriches. The literal word is custody. They're supposed to be feeding the ostriches, giving the ostriches water, and making sure they have bedding. We're not sure they're getting any of this, but they're apparently very, very busy. And they're not obviously spending a lot of time feeding these ostriches or looking after them. So what are they doing at night? What's going on? This is the vacuum trailer and skid. This is what you just saw in that picture. There's the picture again. That's what it is. To dispose of liquid waste. There it is again. This is a massive blender. Now, what could be going on here is a process that I have never heard of in my life. Water cremation. Instead of burning carcasses, bodies, remains, they're being ground up and destroyed through a water process. And here's the definition of it. And this will be in the, you are interested in following this up. Body disposal through alkaline hydrolysis involves placing the intact dead body in a pressurized vessel. The vessel is then filled with a mixture of water and potassium hydroxide. It is heated to a temperature of around 160 degrees Celsius while under elevated pressure to prevent boiling. The entire process effectively breaks down the body into its chemical components until all that remains are the solid bones remains. This is what Karen Espersen, Katie's mother, was talking about. Now, this will be in the description as well. I don't expect you to be able to read this. I'm going to read a little bit of it. This is from the 2017 abstract about anaerobic digestion and alkaline hydrolysis for the biosecure disposal of poultry carcass mortalities and renewable energy production. So in other words, it's about disposing of chickens or other birds. And this thesis investigates the use of anaerobic digestion and alkaline hydrolysis in order to manage poultry mortalities and other deaths. They're euphemism after euphemism, and quantify the methane potential of the carcasses when anaerobically digested. Digestion trials were split into laboratory and pilot scale experiments using mesophilic 38 degrees Celsius bench top reactors and retrofitted 60-liter barrels using 2 operating temperatures and 3 loading rates. Laboratory scale trials showed that biogas production varied with chickens' age and size, while the pilot scale trials demonstrated a high methane production with over or just under 80% whole carcass reduction. I encourage you to read that whole thing. It's in the description. Here's the kill pen. Is this going to be a toxic waste disposal site? We need answers to these questions, folks. And we're not getting answers to any of these questions because the CFIA insists upon doing its dirty work in secret. And I had somebody send me this picture last night. This is the kill pen. There's no food and no water in this site. No food, no water, no bedding. And that's what's happening here. All right, we're back. Yeah, sorry for that. It's incredible what is going on at this farm. Now, so the question we have again at the end of this broadcast: 58 acres total for this farm. 330, maybe? I don't think there's that many. CFI can't count, so they're saying it's a range of 300 to 330. But of course, if these ostriches are healthy, there's no toxicity, is there? And that's another question the CFI won't answer. But what are they trying to do to this farm? Is it going to be unusable in the future? And these are the questions that remain unanswered. Now, we have put a lot of information out there for you. We cannot prove any of this is going on, but what is going on at 2:30, 3 o'clock in the morning? What are these sounds, these blender sounds people are hearing? What is the CFI doing? Why won't they count the ostriches? Why won't they tell them how many are remaining? Are they injecting these ostriches with something toxic so they can demonstrate, oh, they had avian flu H5N1 after all? Because I've heard that coming from a lot of people. And I think we need to substantiate exactly what the CFIA is up to. So what should this farm do? Well, and this is one of the reasons we're having Agent Blue Sky on the show, hopefully this week, because he successfully got the government off his property. He successfully was able to do that through a civil action. So maybe that's what Universal Ostrich Farms needs to do. They need to today get a civil action going, a injunction. Let a judge establish an injunction to get the CFI off the farm now, and to see if a civil action can keep them off the farm. Because clearly, nothing is going to change if this continues unabated. And I think these remain the most pertinent questions to the story right now. And as I said, all of you viewers who are out there, I thank you for those of you who are corresponding with me. Your information is invaluable. If you've got further information about this blender, the noises even, we need to get that on the air so other people can hear what you and others at the farm are hearing. This is absolutely indispensable. And we're going to keep getting this information out there, even though it's making a lot of people in the federal government very uncomfortable. Because this is what we need to do. And I'm going to continue to research this, and we're going to put the links together. We're going to do that. We'll be right back after this word from the store. So I want to clarify my point about why disposing of 300 ostriches or even 200 ostriches, no matter what's remaining on the killing pen, regardless of whether these ostriches are obviously healthy until the CFIA got a hold of them. But disposing of that many ostriches on a parcel of land, probably about maybe 15 acres, unless this is going to ruin the land, regardless of the health of the ostriches. This is the point. And if the CFIA is allowed to get away with this, if they're not sued now, they should be sued later. Because this is absolutely getting to the point of beyond scandal. And this is why I continue to report this story, because I think it's important. And I'll say it again. It's not just about one farm. It's not about Katie and her family. It's not just about ostriches. It's about our rights as property owners, our rights as farmers. If you're a farmer, our rights to our livestock and our rights to our livelihood. I have to say that every day, because some people still say, don't bother with the story anymore because it's just about one farm. And I hope Katie will be in Kelowna tonight at a fundraising event talking about some of these issues, and encourage you to be there if you're in town. Thank you for watching today. We'll be back again tomorrow with more of this information as we continue to cover this crisis, this catastrophe in Edgewood, BC. And as we continue to document the crisis here in Ottawa, and as the federal government clearly has lost control of trade negotiations with the U.S. government. Thanks for watching. I'll be back again tomorrow. It's been a pleasure.